All right, here we are, Notre Dame Stadium. I'm Tom Orr, joined by Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony, we are now officially 2 hours to kick off, so we can tell you not a lot of news in this week's availability report, and this is a very no news is good news situation. It's not no news. There's a little bit of news. Cam Martinez, the only really new name on this week's availability report, backup safety. He's out, not going to play in this game. Other than that, no new news. There had been, you had heard people kind of talking about Lathan Ransom at one point and had a brace on at one point. And, you kept hearing, anytime it's a big game week, there's always, I heard this guy, then that guy, and the answer is no. There's no one who's listed as questionable. Cam Martinez is the only guy who was on the out list that we had not seen before, which, you want to have everyone, but that's pretty close to everyone.
Yeah, if you're going to lose a guy like Cam Martinez, they've already essentially replaced him on defense anyway with Sonny Styles and Jordan Hancock as the big nickel and the passing nickel. So, he had been in there in some dime situations, but there are enough options around that they can, you would think, make do. I don't know how much dime they're even going to play in this one. But yeah, the fact that nobody's listed as questionable either is big. Although Joe Royer last week was not listed and was a late scratch, so there is always that situation that we have come to get accustomed to for some reason or other. But yeah, overall, pretty healthy in terms of just no other names, the same guys that we already know on the list.
Yeah, and the other guys that are on the list this week, guys who are out: Keon Grays, Zach Herbstreit, Arvell Reese, Will Smith, Reese Stocksdale, Court Williams. Those are all names that have been on for multiple weeks already, so no real surprises there. This is about as well as this could have lined up for Ohio State. We'll see how it plays out once the game starts, but you had 3 weeks to sort of sort out the quarterback situation. You had 3 weeks to sort of get the offensive line maybe a little more sorted out. You're coming in relatively healthy. You have a quarterback situation resolved and a quarterback who's coming in off of by far the best performance of his career. This seems like, compared to last year they played in week 1, this feels like, compared to what this one might have looked like if these two teams had met in week 1, that this might be, this is setting up incredibly well for Ohio State compared to the alternative.
Yeah, just all of the knowns that they have now, not just about themselves and their quarterback, but about Notre Dame and what they'll do defensively, what they want to do offensively. I think I was asked earlier today, would Ohio State rather be playing this in Game 4 or Game 1? Definitely Game 4.
Yeah.
I could argue that this might be an opportunity where a situation where Marcus Freeman might prefer it to be Game 1 rather than Game 4 because of their knowns and Sam Hartman and understanding what they have there. So I think this being Game 4 helps both programs, just because of the knowns. But if you were to give Marcus Freeman his druthers, I think he'd rather have this game be Week 1.
Oh, absolutely. And, last year, I think Ohio State, with C.J. Stroud being back and a fairly veteran team last year, they were, I think, perfectly fine with it being Week 1 when Notre Dame is rolling out a new quarterback and a new head coach. And, there were a lot of firsts for Notre Dame in that game. If Notre Dame had its choice, I think they would have reversed the order these games were played in. Week 4 last year, Week 1 this year. Instead, it's the other way around, which is good news for Ohio State. There's a lot of stuff around this game that is potentially going to be different for Ohio State, a little bit more of a challenge. It's not the first game, it's not the first road game, but it's the first real road game. Like, no disrespect to Indiana, but we know what Indiana football is. We know what Bloomington looks like when Ohio State comes, and it's half Ohio State fans, more or less. I remember talking to Jerry DiNardo when he was the head coach in 2003. Ohio State came and visited Indiana, and he talked about the fact that it was always their stadium picture day when Ohio State came because the stadium is full and everyone's wearing red, and from the air, when you take the picture from the blimp or whatever, hey, the difference between crimson and scarlet, yeah, it's close enough. You can't really tell the difference. There's going to be a lot of green in this stadium, and the estimates as far as how much is going to be green and how much is going to be red vary widely. The highest number I heard in terms of potential Ohio State numbers is 40%. that feels real high to me. You had said 10% at one point, based on some of the stuff that had been sort of marketed about how Notre Dame was doing a great job keeping Ohio State fans out. That's probably too low. But this is going to be, even if it's 25% Ohio State fans, that is still a very hostile, very large hostile crowd. They've got all these LED bracelets down on every seat where they're going to do when the team runs out before the game. Notre Dame, I think they're going to turn out the lights and everyone's going to have these bracelets, and then I think between the third and the fourth quarter they're going to have these things, and it's going to make up designs or some kind of an LED show. So you have that to look forward to. But I mean, all that kind of stuff, it's all sort of a distraction, but it's also when you have an offensive line that's sort of working through and learning who it is, and a quarterback who is making his 5th career start. This is a game where if Ohio State gets rattled, you could see this maybe not going the right way for them.
Well, especially with what Notre Dame wants to do on defense with some ball control stuff and limiting Ohio State's possessions. And if Ohio State's not doing anything on offense and there is some rattling or there are some turnovers and you're stealing possessions from Ohio State, that's going to be seriously bad news for the Buckeyes, because this is a place where the defense will be good for Notre Dame. It has been good. The offense isn't necessarily going to make mistakes. So if Ohio State is wasting possessions and turning the ball over when that's what Ohio State is going to try to be doing to Notre Dame, it'd be cliche to say whoever wins the turnover battle will win this, because I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think it still depends on what's going on with the running game. I think if whoever can run the ball the best can withstand a turnover margin defeat. But yeah, you've got two, I think, pretty consistent offenses, two consistent defenses. So it comes down to the red zone, the line of scrimmage, like all of the coaches' cliches. Like this is the most cliche football game maybe of the year.
It is, and this is, Ryan Day talks about the talent as equated games, and this is a pretty talent as equated game as far as Ohio State typical schedule goes, which then it is the line of scrimmage. It is, there's a reason that Earl Bruce for years you hear him grumbling in the press box about needing to win the line of scrimmage and pounding on the table, and it's everyone I think sort of rolls their eyes at that a little bit, but also sometimes the old man has a point, and this is one of those the old man has a point games where if Ohio State can open things up to run the ball, that keeps the Notre Dame defense away from, you have to stop the run. Yeah. If you can't stop the run, you're going to have a long night. So if Ohio State can run the ball and Notre Dame has to allocate more, hey, you got to bring a safety down to the box. Okay, that's one less guy who's downfield recovering Marvin Harrison and Mecca Buka. If Notre Dame can run the ball, then that opens up the play action that they want to do. That opens up, that makes the downfield passing easier. Yeah. Notre Dame does not have incredible world beater wide receivers, but if you've got secondary guys biting on play action, well, you don't have to be amazing to get open at that point.
No, and we still don't know everything we need to know about the Ohio State safeties at this point. They've done well against the teams that they've faced, but this will be the most talented, the most complementary offense that they've faced, where they are going to have to help out in the run game, but if they help out too much, then you might see Sam Hartman go over top of them. So there's going to be just some situations that are uncomfortable for the safeties, and you don't want to be guessing, but they may have to make some guesses, and they may be guessing wrong at times. And when they do, it's going to be imperative for Notre Dame to capitalize on those. Don't throw, you've got an open deep guy and it's 4 yards overthrown or something like that, because you may not get that opportunity again. I'd say that for both teams in this one.
It feels like this is going to come down to capitalizing on the one big thing, the one mistake, the one opportunity, whatever it is, the one turnover. When you're playing a game that's this tight, it's going to come down to that one thing, whatever that thing ends up being. It's a fumble and who gets on the loose ball. It's a tipped ball and it's who comes down with it on, is it a reception, is it an interception, is it an incompletion? This is one of these really narrow margin of error kind of games for Ohio State, which then you say that and you would think people that should make you nervous. Well, you can't play nervous either. You gotta let it rip, like Ryan Day said in his radio show. You can't play tight. You can't play. I don't think this is going to play out the way that last year's game did, which was 21-10, and everyone was kind of punting and playing field position. It could be a little more aggressive than that, I think. So, going to be interesting to watch. we don't normally do this, but we're not normally here. So I'm going to flip this camera around and just let you see. Now let's let you look at what's on the other side of the glass here.
I did not know the greenery down there was down there.
Yeah, they've got flowers and stuff down there. You can see the Golden Dome there. Further down, you can see Touchdown Jesus. Because of the angle of the glass, it's a little tough to see, but he's down there as well. But yeah, one of the most iconic venues in college football. Buckeyes will be playing here 7:30 tonight, and as we said earlier, pretty much good news in that availability report. Cam Martin is the only new name there for the Buckeyes, so we will make sure you are on our YouTube channel and hit that bell, hit that subscription notification, so that you can be part of our post-game show. That'll start immediately after the game. Player interviews, coach interviews, all the usual stuff, plenty of insight and analysis, and a full breakdown of whatever happens here. Should be a really interesting, very, very competitive game. We'll have a full recap for you after the game, so make sure stay up late with us, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. We'll talk to you guys then.